Yes, guys, what's going on? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today is a bit of a recap over what I used to do, of what I did in Australia. So Australia was a big up and down for me in terms of mental health and in terms of everything, physical fitness, everything. I gained a lot of weight while I was in Australia because I was going through a lot of eating disorders, I suppose would be the best way to describe them. I've suffered with eating disorders my entire life. It's not something I've ever been ashamed of admitting. Since I was extremely young, I've always suffered with eating disorders, and it's always been probably my biggest problem. It just turned from one extreme to the other in terms of those disorders. So when I was younger and I didn't really know what was going on, I used to just eat all the time and never really thought about it. I was always a little bit podgy. And then when I used to get older, when I did get older, it was all like very anorexic based stuff. I just would almost refuse to eat, and I did that for many, many years, and I got extremely skinny, just skin and bone. And then I was able to get a good hold on it, but the only time I had a good hold on it was when I was doing an excessive amount of drugs. So it's just been sort of passing one addiction off to the other. When I went to New Zealand to get sober, I dealt with that exact problem. I then just reverted back to changing the addiction of doing drugs to the addiction of food, and then vice versa. When I went to Australia, I had basically the same problem. Stopped doing all the drugs, and I stopped doing class A's and all those kinds of things, and I started eating a lot. But the biggest issue was I started drinking a lot of alcohol as well. So that was the biggest issue out there, was I was just passing one off to the other. Now, the videos over the next 2 weeks are videos I filmed when I was out there, but I was never able to watch them myself because of what I was going through. I knew I was going through some stuff, so I found it a little bit not right to offer advice about things I was going through. However, upon reflection and speaking to different therapists and stuff, I've realized that me doing what I'm doing is exactly that. It's, I only tell things from my personal perspective. I don't have a master's degree in psychology or in counseling or in therapy or anything like that. I just tell people my experience. So actually, realistically, it would have been better for me to say that experience in the first place, because it's something that I was going through. It's something that I'm probably always going to go through at some point in my life. And these different things, it's very easy to turn around and say, oh yeah, I defeated that. I won against that. And I feel like that's the wrong mentality to have. When people come off of serious drug addiction, serious alcoholism, serious different disorders and addictions, in that kind of space, it's the neurological mindset. It very rarely goes away. People just trade it off for better addictions, and this is the biggest thing I see, is anybody who's got like a food addiction or a drug addiction, alcoholism, they change that for the healthier lifestyle of going to the gym. I've met a couple of people like this, but their unhealthy lifestyle then is just as unhealthy doing the fitness, because they're running themselves into the ground and they're not actually doing it for the right reasons. And so that's something that I really struggled with when I was out there, was actually doing it for the right reasons. So there was a lot of ups and downs out there. There was a lot of things that I was struggling with, and food and alcohol was definitely the biggest ones, because they primarily just because it brought me home. And that was what I wanted. I was extremely homesick. I was going through all these different problems, and I just wanted to feel like I was at home. So I was having a lot of the food my mum used to make me as a kid. I was having a lot of home cooked remedies from what I used to. So I was having a lot of home cooked remedies that when I was out there, to remind me of home and all those different kinds of things. And the biggest reminder for me is always food and alcohol. They're just the two things, going to the pub with my friends and different kinds of things like that. So I was just trying to do everything I could to be like I was at home. And I just found it very hard to upload at that time, because I didn't really understand why I was feeling that way and all these different things. So yeah, being let into putting your life on social media like this is something that I never thought I'd actually do, but something that's very worthwhile to do, because you're just sharing your personal experiences and trying to help other people from those personal experiences. Like I've always said in all my videos, I'm not a qualified therapist. I've just been through a lot, and I only ever say things from my personal perspective and the things that I've been through and the things that I've done that have either helped me or helped my clients. So And addiction is one of those things that is very hard. I don't know anybody that's completely and utterly 100% beaten an addiction, because they just, and when I say beaten, I mean they were addicted to something and now they're not addicted to anything. That was, in my head, that's what I would class as beating. Whereas everybody just passes it off to a different addiction. So like I say, the gym or running, or severe eating to severe not eating, things like that. It's very easy for one person to say, oh yeah, I defeated my drug addiction, but now I go to the gym 7 times a week and I'm ruining my bones and my health in a different way. So it's just about finding balance. Life is all about balance. I've talked about balance so much on this channel before. Balance is very hard to find, a very, very good balance. I find it's very easy when you're in a good space, and then it's very hard when you're not in a good space. And so it's just about having the balance that works for you, whether you're in a good space or a bad space, no matter really what is going on, and allowing yourself that flexibility and that time to look back and think, okay, I've had a bad problem, I've had a bad run, I've had a bad couple of weeks or a bad couple of months or a bad day, and so tomorrow, today, next day, it's I'm going to start getting back on the things I need to do. And like I've said it before, I'm going to say it in the next couple of weeks, goals are so important to be able to keep yourself accountable for the things that you're doing, because if you don't achieve that goal, but like I know for me personally, if I set myself a goal written in stone, then I either would do everything I physically can to achieve that goal. But if it's not written in stone and there's some flexibility there, I'm a bit like, oh well, I could do this today and I could do that today, and there's not really that much of an issue. And the other thing you've got to realize is, I know specifically when it comes to me, and I've had this experience in clients before, when you start coming off of an addiction, you want to fill that hole with as many other things as possible. So it's about sort of allowing yourself to stop doing the bad things, but giving yourself gratification for you doing well in something else. So if you're stopping drinking excessive amounts of alcohol, it's one of the things that if you drink a lot of alcohol on a daily basis and you just cut it out completely, you can die. Your body gets so used to it. As I was saying with a lot of prescription medication, you can't just come off of it, because your body just goes into shutdown because it's so used to having it there. So it's about phasing it out slowly. It's not just cutting it cold turkey, which I've never met many people that can do that. Especially if they're in the same situation you're currently in. You remember, your environment dictates so much about what actually happens in your life versus somewhere else. Like, it was very easy for me when I went to the other side of the world and I had none of my friends and I had none of my distractions or traumas or triggers anywhere near around me. It was very easy to stop doing all of the stuff I knew I wasn't meant to do. It's much harder when you're at home surrounded by everybody who does the things that you're not supposed to do. So there's that, coming off of it slowly, or having a healthy, like I find there's two different ways of doing it. You come off slowly, or you come off cold turkey. Now I feel like the people who come off cold turkey, usually they've had some kind of health scare or some kind of life scare that really shits them into needing to stop immediately, whereas doing it because you want to do it is much harder, and it's much harder to stay in that sort of frame of mind of actually stopping doing it in the first place. So when I was out there, I had no reason to stop. I had no partner, I had no particular responsibilities apart from to pay my rent and my bills and eat food and drink. Like that was all I had to worry about, was just having enough money to eat and drink, and that's where all my money went, in eating and drinking. And so eating disorders are so hard. It's so many millions of people suffer from them every single day of the week, and it's something that it's not noticeable, but people are going through extreme trauma because of something that's going on for them, whether it's current or past or something they're worried about in the future. But a lot has been said about not all disabilities are visible, and that is one of those things. Somebody who is got one of these eating disorders that generally leads on to a lot of other things. If you've got an eating disorder of some description, it can lead on to anxiety, because if you don't want to go out and see people, because they might go to a restaurant, or they might go and do this, or they might go and do that, that involves some kind of food or drink that you may or may not be triggered by. And then that can then spiral into depression and all these different problems. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was anxious all the time because I knew I was completely fallen off track and then fell into a whole heap of depression because, again, I knew that I was just going downhill and there was nothing I could do about it at that time. Being sucked in is very hard to go through, and going about it on your own, I know from personal experience, it's nearly impossible to get yourself out of that hole. You need a good supportive framework around you, whether that's professionals or friends or family, to actually be able to get you out of the hole that you found yourself in. And you can go into that hole surrounded by people. I'm not saying that hole is specifically for people who are on their own, but it's so much easier to feel better and when you're surrounded by people who make you feel good than it is when you're surrounded by nobody apart from your own very sad, depressive thoughts. And so that's what happens to us all, and there's nobody likes to speak about it, nobody wants to speak about it, which is why I feel it's almost my duty to come and say something, because not everybody wants to suffer like that, and I understand a lot of people do, and they're happy suffering for the rest of their lives, and it is a shame. But there's always something you can do about your situation, always. And so I highly recommend trying to reach out to somebody who has a similar mind frame to be able to get you out of the hole that you currently find yourself in. There's no issue asking for help whatsoever. But yeah, so over the next couple of weeks is basically going back nearly a year from when I filmed these videos, and it might be a little bit odd in comparison to my normal videos, but it is something that definitely needs to be spoken about a lot more than what we're speaking about. So hope you enjoy. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.